Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
You and I are kind of similar. You may even be more good-hearted than me. I feel like you. Well,
but in our longing hearts, we're all the same.
Mutual respect and
yes.
A boundary might have been crossed that you, right?
That's
so
correct.
just an example it is a great example. I appreciate that for giving me the example to even work with.
Let's be the change we want to see.
I've never seen differences negative. I've always been attracted to and intrigued by it. But we're looking for how are we similar? How are we the same? How can we all just get along?
We are links in a chain. Unimportant.
Hey. Welcome to Working It Out Across Generations. I am so excited. I am one of your hosts. My co-host is not here today. I am Dr. Lynn, and I am just thrilled with today's show, even though I am missing Justin, and I'm sure you are too. But hey, what a show we have for you today. We are talking about, have you changed your mind about spanking your kids? And if you know anything about this show, we talk about all things conflict in a way that nobody else is really talking about it. And it mostly comes not just from life experience, but from my conflict resolution background of over 40 years. And then Justin, I started him to work at 10 years old. So he's been working for 14 years in the field of conflict resolution as well. So we talk from that space. So welcome. I have two guests today that I know you are going to love having them here. We were just talking backstage about the fact that I'm bringing on dads. And if you know anything coming up in a culture and a family that gave spankings, whoopings, whatever, one of the things that mom or grandmom used to say is, just wait till your dad gets home. So now I got two dads who are going to have a conversation with me about changing your mind about spanking your kids. And I'm going to tell you that I'm in that camp as well. And I'll be talking a little bit about that, but I want to bring them to the stage right now. So I am bringing to the stage Gordon Harrison and Landon Paikai, who I just love both of you. I love your wives of my sisters, and I love your kids. Your kids are just amazing examples of just strong, loving parents. And I really wanted to talk to you both today about this particular topic. But first, let me intro you. properly. Landon Paikai is a native Hawaiian business owner and community activist who is a champion for social work within the community, a staunch believer in helping those who need aid. He is especially passionate about mentoring underprivileged children and young adults. Originally from Hawaii, Landon now lives in Las Vegas with his wife and 4 children. Here he is focused on supporting local communities in both locations by bridging connections and resources between Hawaii and the 9th island, in quotes, because Vegas has become that 9th island. And whenever you hear that Justin and I are in Vegas, this is the family that we are with. So welcome, Landon. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. All right. And joining him and I, as Gordon Harrison, is an entrepreneur, DJ, and co-host of the First Fridays virtual worship experience. Badass DJ. Sorry, y'all. Originally from Jamaica, he has over 20 years of leadership experience in the call center industry and now brings his passion for Christ, music, and creativity to every space he serves. Known for his ability to read the room and tell a story through music, and Gordon curates soundtracks that transform weddings, conferences, quinceañeras, and corporate virtual events into unforgettable experiences. A devoted husband and proud girl dad, he is committed to faith, family, and excellence in all he does. Y'all welcome them both. Welcome, Gordon. So happy to have you here as well. And I just want to say thank you to both of you for saying yes. And you said yes immediately. As soon as I sent the text, you were ready and willing to hop on. And I want to start out by saying that this is a subject that is so close to my heart because I came up in an African-American family, grew up in the Bronx, still here. Most of my family is still here, although they're different places. But that's my dad's side of the family. On my mom's side of the family, she grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, and most of her family is still there. And the nature of the South and parenting and raising kids and all kids, right, is that you do get spanked, you get whooped, you got to go to the tree and get your little branch or whatever. Oh, God, switch. They call it switch. Yeah. And I mean, that's to me, that's torture. You gonna make me go and get the thing that you gonna torture me with. That's my
you hear go get the belts. You like
go get the belt. Yes, all of that. I grew up with that as a part of of my childhood. My parents, my mom, she really felt proud of herself because she used to get beatings. She got beatings for everything and with everything, not just the switch, the shoe, the hanger, all of this stuff, right? But she spanked us. She didn't do the beatings. And my dad, he only lost it with us once, and he beat us with the belt from our friend's home. God, came in their house swinging, beat us, and then beat us all the way home. And then he felt so bad about it. He never laid a hand on us again. But I, as a parent, really believed that spanking was really going to be a part of the way that I parented. And just through coming through conflict resolution and all of the things that I learned, and then just thinking about things myself, it just wasn't something that I really wanted to do with my sons. And so I formally apologized to Jabari because he got what I call pop. He had the nerve to tell somebody he got spanked, and he wouldn't know a spanking if it walked up to him and introduced it to himself. But he got popped probably until Justin came along, and Justin has never gotten a spanking or anything like that, and neither have you, Jabari. So, so I want to start off. All right, there's lots of folks in the house. Yes, Dr. Tawana, thank you for joining. I'm glad you're catching us live too. Vita's doing a shout out to Gordon and Landon, and Andrea in the house. She's gonna be commenting all the way through. Thanks y'all for tuning in. So I want to start you off with a question that I think is really important to me. I want you to please tell us about your background and where you grew up. So Gordon, I'm gonna turn it to you first, and then Landon will come to you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lynn, and shout out to Justin while he travels. We'll keep prayer, make sure he's safe. And so I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I am the last of 5 kids. I came like 9 years after the 4th child. So the eldest is 18 years older than me. So we have a wide family range. Not only do I have my mom and my dad, but my older sisters, they're like my mom too. So, and my brother, always authority, no matter, because you're the youngest, you got to listen to what they say. And so I grew up in Jamaica, went to school in Jamaica, and worked in radio in Jamaica for a while. And then I moved here and worked in radio, then corporate America, and now entrepreneur. And I love God. We grew up in church. My dad is a pastor, so we grew up in a Jamaica church, and grew up with a lot of strict boundaries and rules and different things. And I remember in school, if you were in a class, the teachers would beat you too. You would get beaten for not doing your homework. You would get, and you'd have to hold out your hand, and they would use a ruler or a special stick to hit you with. And,
okay.
Yeah. Just a switch, but, they had a special thing, either a thick ruler, wooden ruler, or, something that would, be thick enough to kind of give you some good taps on your hand. You have to hold out your hand and get what you get. There was kids that talked in class that the whole class got beaten for, so these are things that I remember in school. My dad was very strict. When I say strict, you have to make sure that you do your chores, you do things, you don't back answer your mom like, no, I'm not doing that. And there were times that I did, I said, no, I'm not doing that. I remember, going through some things where Jamaica, tropical climate, very hot, but I was a sickly kid. So my mom used to make me wear like a really thick t-shirt underneath my uniform, school uniform. And I remember one day I didn't have it on, and I had my top button open and my chest was bearing out. And she goes, "You better put on your shirt." I said, "No, I'm not doing that." And she went outside and got a switch. And when Dad heard her upset, he came in and added to that whole.
Oh my gosh!
Those things that I remember during that time. But yes, so that's me in a nutshell. I grew up in Jamaica. I love God and I love my family. I'm a girl dad, and proud of it. And my beautiful wife. We've always communicated about how we would discipline our child and how we would go about things, and we discuss different things, especially
okay now, Gordon, I don't want you to give away the store yet, because we going we gonna talk about all of that. Love it. He's ready. All right, Landon, please tell us where you grew up. Tell us about your childhood, please.
Well, aloha, everyone. Dr. Lynn, thanks for having me. Excited to be able to discuss spanking or discipline. I am, as Dr. Lynn mentioned, I'm native Hawaiian, born and raised in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. And growing up, I'm the eldest of 5. So growing up, it was a lot of discipline in regards to, it was just, this is the thing you do. Coming from a Polynesian background, for those of you who are not familiar with Polynesians, and actually specifically Asians, the Asian culture and Polynesian culture are similar in the sense that there are spankings as well. discipline, whether it was a hose or the switch. For us, in growing in another tropical climate, it was branches, and specifically guava branches, which don't break on you. They
They
don't break
don't
on you.
break. Oh gosh. Okay.
So I never experienced getting what we call in Hawaii lickings, getting lickings with a branch. My father was very strict, and it didn't matter whether I was in the wrong or one of my siblings was in the wrong, because I was the eldest and because I was his bull, bull. I would have to also endure punishment for things that my younger siblings did. And I won't get too far into it because I know that there's a question coming up. But yeah, specifically coming from Hawaii, spanking it's a natural part of who we are in Hawaii and what we do. And so it is very similar for those of you who are stateside to the spankings and the whoopings that happen throughout the continent. Those same things happen in the state of Hawaii.
Yeah, I have to say that, I love that both of you are, from Jamaica, from Hawaii, outside of, right, the U.S., because I had no doubt that this cross cultures, there was no doubt in my mind, but I asked the question anyway, before either of you said yes. I asked, did you get spanked? Do you want to talk about this? And because I just didn't think that I knew it wasn't only just Black folk. I do know that that other cultures do, and certainly, like I said, coming from the Southern background. But I just gotta check, Lyndon. Did you say a hose? Beat with a hose? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Okay, so it's whatever they could get their hands on. People were spanking. So I want to know, because Gordon, you said, like, I told my mother no, right? I know. I can't even tell you how many times I heard, you will not have any teeth left if you talk back to me. Oh, yeah. And no, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I can remember my mother telling me about a time where she took her shoe off and beat my behind. But it wasn't because I told her no, and I was little. I was like 3. It wasn't because I said the words. It's because I just ignored it. And this time she was right to correct me. Not like that, but she was right to correct me, because she told me to stop at the corner. She let me let go of her hand and stop. And she told me to stop at the corner, and I kept on walking across the street. So of course she was terrified. And the first thing she could think of was to take off her shoe. But I'm happy to know that there were some adults around who thought that was very cruel of her. So, so she wasn't always supported, although both of you, I had that same experience. The village was going to support the whooping, the licking, the spanking, the whatever it was. They were going to support it. And I didn't get to getting beat in school, but it was definitely like the neighbors, well, you may get hit by them too. And if not, you would get a tongue lashing. That was just like worse to me than the spanking or whatever. But I really need to know something here. What? I'm sorry, Andrea, I'm gonna turn off these comments. This is why Justin telling me turn off these comments. Andrea said she's seen somebody getting I'll turn off the comments because it's going to distract me, because y'all are going into your own stories, which I love. Thank you for the participation. But what did you take away at the time when you were spanked? Like, I don't know. And now as you look back, I'd like to know both, because I'm going to start off and say I took away nothing. I was just that kind of kid. Right? Like, I'm gonna do my dirt. Here's what I took away. Do your dirt in secret. That's what I took away. So you can't defy in their presence, but you can defy in other ways. So how about you, Landon? What did you take away?
Yeah, one of my biggest takeaways and confusions growing up, because my father was the disciplinarian in the household, was when he spanked me, he would always tell me that this hurts me more than it more than it hurts you. And I grew up so frustrated trying to figure out what the heck is my dad talking about. It didn't make any sense to me, especially when I wasn't in the wrong. So it allowed me to, one, realize that discipline comes in different types of forms and different types of ways. And it wasn't until I actually became a father, and when I decided to put my hands on my children and spank them, when I realized that there was so much truth. There was so much truth in his words, because it did hurt me. It hurt me more than it hurt them. And I think I didn't do necessarily a good job of explaining to my children why they were getting spanked.
Yeah.
But you know my wife,
Yes.
and my wife is an excellent communicator. And when we had our children, we had 4 children in 4 years. So she was pregnant pretty much for 4 years straight. And so she was a stay-at-home mom. And it was her communications and watching them grow that started the question of, is spanking right? And that was what really kind of helped to shift my thoughts, because we didn't necessarily have those conversations around discipline. We grew up in church, and in church, one of the things that is taught is spare the rod, spoil the child. And so discipline was, as I mentioned earlier, it was natural. It was natural already in our ethnic cultures, but it was also natural in the spiritual culture.
Yes.
Talking about how to discipline, and then at the same time, they didn't necessarily teach you about what you do or how you discipline. You just went according to what was done to you.
That's right.
And in some situations, doing something a little different than what was done to you. Instead of taking a hose or a switch or any of those types of things, you might use a wooden spoon. You know, you kind of change according to what it is you're feeling, and you kind of go from there. But yeah, that's where it was for me, and that's really what helped me to kind of see, well, this was definitely a takeaway. And yeah, specifically when it came to disciplining my own children, I realized, oh dang, my dad wasn't lying.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting? I mean, at the time when it's so interesting that again, cross cultures, because I got that I heard that from my mom too. And my smart behind. So I'm thinking, yeah, let's see, like I don't believe this hurting you more than it's hurting me. But I love that you said, Landon, as a parent, you realize that yes, it was. And I got to check this out too, y'all, because I don't know if this was cross-cultural too, but in the Black families, we couldn't just get hit. We had to have a little sing song along with it. Didn't I tell you not to? Doggone it. How many syllables does this have, and how long is this going?
Yeah. Similar in Polynesian and Asian culture as well.
Okay. All right. Well, Gordon, what about you?
So there was no questioning any disciplinary action that was taken towards me. Trust me. Well, I could say, thinking about it, in school, there were sometimes, like Landon said, when you getting punished for other people's wrongdoing, why? Why am I didn't do it. You know what I mean? I'm not the one talking in class. I don't know why the whole class had to get, whooping. And so I know that, looking at my older siblings, I knew there were some boundaries and there were some things not to do. So I kind of learned, I don't want that happen to me, And so when my mom did get upset, and my mom doesn't get upset.
Okay.
I mean, she's the one to always tell me, a calm word turneth away wrath. She always told me that. She always told me that. And she was a very quiet, peaceful lady. But when I responded and I, was back answering her and not doing what she asked me to do, and it was a guava stick. It was a guava tree right in front of the house. I don't even know how she broke it, because those things bend, but she broke it right off. And and Dad added to that as well. And so, if I did anything wrong, it would be back answering or sneaking out the house playing with the neighbors, or if I even had a little fuss with my neighbors or my friends and their mom got involved, my dad heard about it. Oh my gosh, it's like something else is added to the whole thing. So, you don't want your father to hear that you're misbehaving next door or out the road at school. You do not want him to know that, because you're going to get an addition punishment to that. And so thinking about it, I did hear, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And that was confusing because I was in pain. You know what I mean? I was lit up. And I'm like, why are you saying that? And so those things were confusing. There were always, like you said, there's a sing-song thing to it. You must not that. The whole thing goes down the drain. But as time, you learn. I felt that there's some things, especially when I did something wrong, I knew I did it wrong, and I knew something was coming. Right. And as I grew older, there were different things that were, I wasn't beaten in a sense. I was addressed, and communications was better in a sense. But again, you felt like my mom always said, there were times when Dad and I just did not agree on things. My mom always said to me, make sure that you are calm, don't get upset with your dad, talk it through with him. But then when he's at the end, no matter how much I plead my case, it was his way or the highway.
Yeah. At least you got to plead your case. I really never, there was no explanation. Yeah, okay, you shouldn't have done that. That's pretty much what it was. And then, like I said, the sing-songy, didn't I tell you not to do that? So I guess that's why I'm getting this spanking, right? Because you told me not to do something. But could we have talked about it? That was never a rule in my house. And now both of you, I know, did spank at some point. What did you spank your children for? Gordon, what did you spank your daughter for?
I spanked her for back answering me and being disobedient. I told you not to climb up on that shelf 6 times and you're still going up. I gotta do something about it. And like Landon said, I mean, there were times when I felt really, bad that I had to get to that point. But it's like, okay, now I've told you like the 6th time, I gotta do something to deter you from doing that.
Okay.
And that was, she was very young at the time, and she just had a little mindset of doing her own thing, and I kept saying, don't do that, and she kept doing it. I remember as she grew older, I used to show her the belts. And I think that helped to deter, because she kind of realized that, okay, this wasn't the thing to do, Right. But that was basically a memorable moment when I had to intervene and say, listen, it's dangerous. I tried to make her understand, do not climb on that shelf. And she kept going up on it. And I took her off and I lectured her, and it didn't work. It's like, okay, now I got to do something I didn't feel like doing.
Okay.
How do I deter that?
Yeah. I'm gonna get back to you with a follow-up question to that, but I'll go to Landon. What did you spank your kids for? Did all, because you got 4, so all of them got spanked?
Actually, it was Colino, my oldest, and probably Tita or a number 2.
Right.
By the time I got to the 2 youngest, we were kind of moving away from spanking and utilizing more lecture. And when I say lecture, it's just kind of telling them really that I was disappointed in them. And what we found between Sarah and myself is that disappointing Dad was just, it was something that they did not want to do. And it was really interesting to watch that develop in the 4 of them.
Yeah.
So to get back to your question, to answer your question, it was mainly for disobedience. My oldest was, my mom thought she was colicky. when we had her, she cried a lot.
Right.
And she always knew what she wanted, but because she's an infant, she can't explain or talk to us and let us know what she wants. But she cried a lot, And as she got older, before she was able to explain herself and to articulate what was happening with her, it was just not listening to mom or running around and not paying attention and doing things that could get her into trouble. That's where those spankings came in for myself.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting. Okay, so here's the deal with me that I noticed. So Madison, who is Gordon and Andrea's daughter, Madison was simply testing out, in my view, who she is. Because Madison is going to try anything in life. Look at her. She became age? She started her photography business at 7 or 8. And Landon, she was a photograph. She photographed Obama, and
Awesome.
and then she just came back from Korea, right? A solo trip. I mean, this young lady was able to get to keep that spirit, right? And you and Andrea found other ways to nurture and discipline, right? Because I know for myself, I feel like there's a big part of me that was silenced and frightened to have the spirit that I have. And I've had to gain it back on my own. So Landon, Kylina, right? She does whatever, right? And in a way of, I trust myself to make these decisions for myself. You and Sarah may not always agree with it, but there's a spirit that you have managed not to kill in her, which I think is really important, right? And just you've allowed your children, right? Because the rest of your children, Landon, they're just amazing people. You've allowed them to be who they are innately and choose discipline that can help them still be that, but also it may be more challenging to simply talk, lecture, or whatever, but you've chosen to do that and it is working and they're still able to be who they're supposed to be. And I love really and admire that, because I personally don't know what spanking really does, especially if there's absolutely no conversation. And I'm going to tell you, I know lots of kids who they like talk about their spanking history. And I'm like, but you got spanked for the same thing over and over again. So what is it that spanking achieved? You already knew it was coming. I know my mom stopped spanking the moment that she spanked me, and I refused to cry. I'm like, and so it went on longer because I had to, you're not going to cry. Nope, I'm not, lady. I am not going to cry. Now what you going to do? Right? But I personally, I know that lots of people spank. I don't know if I'm going to get mail for what's wrong with you, because one of the things I know I got accused of is not being black, right? You're not really black because you're not spanking, right? Your kids are in control and all of these things. But I don't know if anything like that has been brought up to you, or you felt like that there's a betrayal of the culture or anything like that for either one of you, because I know that wasn't easy for me.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the discipline took place in the home, so there weren't any questions brought up about ethnicity or background. I think one of the viewers mentioned or asked the question, was there a parent hotline? And I think that's actually, was there a parent hotline?
Yeah.
Where they exchange these disciplinary activities?
Yeah.
My first answer was, oh yeah, the parent hotline is in church when they're talking story in between sermons or during sermons, talking about how their kids showed up this weekend, what they had to do to get them into submission, or to those types of things. So I would assume that there were social clubs and kids talking amongst kids explaining, I just got licking yesterday for stupidest reason, just those types of situations.
Mhm.
So yeah, to answer the question again, no one ever questioned it because it always happened in the home, and for the most part, it was always, oh, you wait till you get home. That's what it was, right?
Okay.
It might be similar for you guys, but for me growing up, there was the eye.
Yes, the look.
If your mom or dad,
Oh yeah.
the look. If your mom or dad gives you the look, oh, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it when you get home.
Exactly.
And so they didn't always do it out in public. If
Right.
it called for it, if the situation called for it, they might. But for the most part, if you got that look in church, at the store, or even before you go into the store, don't ask me for anything when you get into that store, or I'm
Yeah.
those
Oh, wait,
types of
so
things.
you got the prelude. You got the right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But when we go here, don't you write in the whole long list of what you better not do, and then you did it, and you got the look.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Oh
so
my gosh.
I felt the same way in a sense where it was private, more private. The only time, again, like we talked about at school when we got in trouble at school and different things like that. But it wasn't. I don't think it was something that was a public thing where everybody could see what you were dealing with or what you got in punishment.
So they never talked back. You say, Gordon, you say back talk. Benson back talk. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like responding, like disobediently responding to your mom.
Right. They never did that in public.
I didn't do it in public.
Okay, but what about Madison?
Home. Oh, Madison, that was at home. That was at
only at home. Wow.
And I think over time, Madison was more concerned in disappointing us. So she really behaved herself. I remember, and I have to tell you, just speaking to her, she understood a lot of things. And we went to a birthday party with her friend, and her friend's dad is a sheriff, one of the sheriffs here. And so we're there, and he was off duty, so he wasn't in his uniform. But some of his friends came by in their uniform, and it was a bounce house, and they had an indoor activity and stuff like that. Maz was playing, and she ran over to her mom and I, and her she asked, "What are the police doing here?" And her mom told her jokingly that the police are here to make sure that you behave yourself. And she sat down beside me really quiet.
I had to put
herself.
Put Andrew's comment up because I saw that. I was like, oh. I saw the oh no first. And I said, oh, Gordon, get ready to tell some Andrew do not want to.
So whenever we told Madison, she believed these things. And I was looking at Andrew, why'd you do that to the child? She's sitting there not even having fun anymore. She was quiet. Like, I don't want to get in trouble. So, it was really easy to look at Madison and not and have a conversation with her from an early stage. And over time, we realized that she really was. She did not want to disappoint. And there are times that she will plead her case. Like, we do talk things out. Yeah. And, she researches her things. I remember one time at a young age, she did a PowerPoint to show us what she wanted to do before we came home, and then presented it to us. Like, she didn't want us to say no to her. So
I love that she had the freedom to do that. I love that she had. I mean, I could not. My dad really wanted it more that we could talk, but my mom was just not having that. So I'm happy to hear that she at least had the freedom to do that. Landon, what about you? What have you found that not spanking, like what's it like to use other disciplinary measures and what's their response to it?
Yeah, actually, I would say that being introduced to you and having hard conversations, you introducing hard conversations was not that we didn't have hard conversations. We didn't have a term for it with the kids growing up, right? Teaching them about actions and reactions and what happens when you do something wrong, right? Teaching them about boundaries and rules and regulations outside of spanking, and like I mentioned earlier, it really is a credit to my wife, who was at home with them 24/7, and realizing that even spanking didn't work for her either, because
Mhm.
a minute later or a few hours later they do the same thing, and so it made
Mhm.
her start to question, well, what the hell are we spanking our kids for?
Yeah.
It's
What a
they're
great question.
right. It's not registering with them. So let me
Mhm.
try another way. And I I don't I don't exactly remember how old my kids were when I stopped spanking them, but I remember specific conversations I had with Sarah where she said, "Hey, babe, I don't think that the kids are learning anything from being spanked. I
Mhm.
think that we should start to think about other ways that we can instill discipline into them and teach them about right versus wrong."
Yeah.
And so we that's how it started. And I gotta say that she teases me about this all the time. Having girls, first I had two girls before before we had our son. She said it really softened me up. She said, "You're so soft," and which I take as a compliment.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it actually it's taught me a lot. And like I mentioned, meeting you and learning about hard conversations and having these types of conversations with our kids, I feel like have given us the opportunity to explore with them what it's like to articulate what's happening with them. Why did they make a certain decision? Did they make the decision knowing that the outcome was gonna be the outcome that happened, or did they just
Mhm.
make a rash decision?
Right.
And so I'll throw a little bit of some of my background out there. I was before we moved from Hawaii, I was a case manager with working with at-risk youth who were in the childcare system. So we
Mhm.
ran an emergency shelter where kids were transitioning either into child protective custody or
Mhm.
out of child protective custody and back home. And so these kids from all different walks of life, all different cultures would come through our emergency shelter, and you'd see the difference and have conversations with these young kids, young teenagers who experienced all types of different things, from homelessness to being raised by single parents, across different cultures and across different norms, and hear similar stories. And what I would say is, for the most part, it was it all became derogatory for them because there was no explanation behind the
Mhm.
discipline. There was no explanation behind why my parent left, or why they were in the situation. So they were always questioning. And I think one of the things that I took away to bring home was, hey, if my life, and then specifically why I took the job was, if if I can't be doing these types of things for my children and my wife at home, who the hell do I think I am, going out here and trying to fix these kids' lives and help them have better situations if I can't take care of those types of things at home with my
Mhm.
own family and with my own kids. So yeah.
That's a good guiding question. Yeah, and I'm thankful that you're putting out some things that people can really think about. I want to say a couple of things, and then Gordon, I'd like you to do the same, because I'm not here to tell you what to do, your parents, but I am here to try to offer up some ways that you may want to think about things a little differently and try some things. And one of the things that I absolutely suggest, parents, you got to start learning to allow your children to have their own voice early in life. And but you don't need to do it in just in the times when they're doing something wrong. You need to just be, that needs to be a way of life. We getting together just to talk, whether it's around the dinner table or we didn't do a whole lot of it around the dinner table. I used to do family meetings and just allowing them to know that their opinion matters, allowing them to say, hey, you know, I did what you said that last time, but can I just ask you why? Right? That's the time, because it's not heated in the moment. They're not disobeying you. They're just trying to make sense of what it is that we are doing to them for their good, right? Mm-hmm. Because I put that in quotes because sometimes our vision, our perspective is really not on point. Because it's a different view, right? And we haven't asked them. We don't know what's in their mind. Yep. So I say that because I really want to encourage anyone who's a parent, grandparents, right? I couldn't even think of laying hands on grandchildren. I don't even have them yet, and I know I would never. And people say never, but I can tell you I would never, because I just don't believe in it anymore. And I believe that our children are brilliant. Also, in my belief, they're the closest thing to the spirit world. They just came from there. Mm-hmm. So they got some understanding that we don't have, and trying to get it out on the table should start early. It's a very different thing. So Gordon, what would you say? What do you say? Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I thought about it, especially, you know, when Andrew and I were getting ready to have Madison, and even watching her grow up, we did think about the spanking as an option. But as we see her develop, we definitely did not want to break her spirit and do something out of the ordinary. And that comes down to a Bible verse that we kept dear to our heart, and is like, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, do not exasperate them to the point of resentment with demands that are trivial or unreasonable or humiliating or abusive.
Wow.
And, by showing favoritism in the friend, that's Ephesians 6:4, and that's something that we stood on, as where we're not going to provoke her, we're not going to break her spirit, but we listen to her and we explain. And a lot of things is learning, so they're still learning. So how do we learn? We still have to make boundaries. We still have to make rules, and still discuss those rules and say, remember, do not pass the street when you're outside playing. You know, you stay by the mailbox. You know, you don't go out with nobody, without anybody going out with you. You know, there's certain boundaries you have to put in place so that you're not just, you know, having somebody just grow up without any sort of guidelines. So there's always a guideline needed. And I've observed kids with no guidelines in public. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
The way they talk to their parents and the way they say no, I am looking at them like, I could never. And I'm thinking about, it's like, how come they're not saying anything, at least to the person? At least guide them. You know, like, you know, the prequel to going into a store, like Landon said, yeah, we got that. Or if we're going to visit certain people, I better not hear you rapping in the bedroom. You know, not because you go over your friends and you're over there making a lot of noise while the parents are having a conversation. You can't do that. So you have to be quiet, you know. And so those are things that we guidelines that were given to us. And then when we think about it, we have to give guidelines to our kids. We have to show them the way to do things, what not to do, how to do things. We talked about, even like, you know, if the crowd is doing something, you can't do it too, because that doesn't mean it's right. You know what I mean? Just because the crowd's doing it. So those are things that we used to talk to Madison. Is like, if you see somebody doing certain things, let's, you know, that's not you. Don't be a part of it. Don't feel bad about saying no to them. And there were times when she were around friends, and we know going into, we give our pre-talk, like Landon said, and it said, you know, if you're there and your friends are doing something, say no to it. And if they ask you why, say your parents doesn't approve of that. And so we give her the freedom to say, my parents told me not to do that.
Right. Let you take the hit. That's right.
So that was part of the teaching that Andrea and I did with Madison. And even today is such an enjoyable thing. Sometimes when we have conversation, I got to Google things that Madison talks to me about. And, just to find out, like, am I saying yes to something without knowing what I'm doing? Like the whole, initially when she brought up going to Korea by herself, I was like, okay, really?
Yep.
But yeah, I really think that our conversation should be better. We should have guidelines. We still the disciplinary, but I think that the spanking can be. I don't know. It depends.
Well, let me see, Clive. Hi, Clive. Thanks for joining. I know you said never spanking out of anger, but I think this is the one that I want to put up here. I believe in spankings, but it's an absolute last resort for behavior that we believe would be negative for our children to have moving forward.
Right.
And I think that there are plenty of parents who think in that way, and perhaps if we teach our children to have a voice, if we do more of the prequel, and yes, Tara, I saw that you agree with that and want to be spanking some other people's kids because your help.
Right?
Oh, that was Andrea who wanted to spank the kids, but Tara's like, the help in quotes. I want to find myself wanting to go help those other parents. So I know.
Funny. I just got to tell you this quick story. A friend of mine from Antigua, we grew up together, and when we moved there, we were in college together. And I remember we used to walk through the mall, and we would see somebody's kid misbehaving, and he would give the kid a look and look at the parents and say, beat him, beat him. Like, if you beat him, that kid's not gonna misbehave and go throw a temper tantrum in the middle of the mall. And the kid would look at him like, who are you to tell my parents?
That's right.
We look at stuff and we see it,
Yes. Well, I'm looking at the time, and I want you to have a last sentence, let's just say. So Landon, something you want to share that you think would just be important for the audience.
Yeah, I wanna piggyback off of what you mentioned about we really are not here to tell you how to parent your children. We're just sharing our experiences as parents and what made us change from not necessarily believing in spanking, but what made us change our minds around was spanking actually beneficial for our children, and how that changed us. And I'm in the same boat as Clive. I do believe that spankings can be incorporated for certain children, but it really is up to you as a parent to decide what's going to work for yourself and your spouse, your partner, and specifically for your child, and what's going to get them to the point where they learn about discipline, where they learn about boundaries, where they also learn about how to articulate what is happening with them, and how to, more specifically, and I think this is the most important, how to advocate for themselves. And I think that is something that we do not as a society talk too much about.
That's
is how to raise our children to advocate for the things that they feel they want and need, and let the adults handle the conversations around, well, I think you bring up some great comments, and from my lived experience, I think that we should go this way. But I also want to thank you for sharing those feelings and those thoughts with me, so we have that conversation. I'll say for myself, growing up in my house when I was young, we didn't have those types of conversations, and so I feel like it did stifle a lot of the types of emotions that we were able to express, and in some cases not express. Right, we were stifled from experiencing what it's like to advocate for yourself, or those types of things. So I'll leave you all with that. And again, Dr. Lynn, thank you for having me. This was a beautiful conversation. Really look forward to the comments that come from it.
Thank you. I agree. Gordon, just a couple of words.
All right. So, I agree with spanking, because there is sometimes that you have to make that decision. I've observed kids that grew up with Madison that have different home life, and some of them we've experienced how they bully other kids in her in her classroom and stuff during the time, and we have addressed, you know, in the past. But you know, partnering with Andrea and speaking with Madison, understanding certain things, and realizing that Madison is so sensitive to other kids now that have gone through that stuff, and if they're trying to attempt to bully her, she knows how to stand up to them and realize that they're going through a situation that they don't have any boundaries, no guidelines, no way to express, and they've, you know, and that's the sad part where you see the other kids and you wonder. And like I said, growing up in Jamaica, everybody could take part in helping you raise. It takes a village, right? Here, you have to be careful how you insert yourself and say what you say. And those are things that concerns me in the future of our kids and how seeing them in public and how other kids are behaving towards your kid. You know, and that those things always concern me as she was growing up. And so, you know, there is a disciplinary guideline that we need to take part in. I believe in a godly guideline. Like I said, you know, we're not going to provoke the child to the point where they're angry at you, but we need to explain and discuss certain things. But I really think that going forward, the discussions that we're having today is very important, and sharing how we were raised and how things were, and then understanding that, you know, we can actually change and still maintain a disciplinary action with our kids and with our family, and know that they're teach them boundaries and guidelines every day. I think that's mainly important. And so when they go out in public, they understand the boundaries and guidelines and how to do certain things. And so I appreciate you and thank you so much for this opportunity. One day, I learned a lot from you, brother, and you know, even though it's a similar culture on the island, definitely thank you for being here and sharing what you've shared with us as well. But Dr. Lynn, thank you again for this opportunity.
It is absolutely my pleasure. It's such an important conversation. I thank both of you for being here. Thank the audience. Your comments are fantastic. I'm really appreciative, and I feel like please share it out. Have a conversation about this episode with your children. See what they think, or grandchildren, whoever. See what they think about, because we should be thinking, at least thinking, not just following what was done to us. Especially when half the time we're wondering, what in the world am I learning from this? So at least let's develop some practices that have a wider lens and open the perspective to our children or people too, and let's develop their voices. And if you decide that this is your disciplinary thing, at least have some other tools in your toolkit. So I want to thank y'all for joining, and I just want to say that I want you to continue to watch us. E360TV.com. We're on Roku. We're on Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. We're, of course, on our Facebook, Working It Out television show. And then those of you who are watching on YouTube at Working It Out Across Generations. If you have some comments, some ideas, email us, Working It Out Across the Generations at E360TVLive.com. I'm going to do a shout out again to all of the comments. Good job, Gordon. Good job, Landon. Thank you, Dr. Lang. Great show. I love it. And here's what we always say about conflict. We say that conflict is here to teach you something about yourself. So go out there and find out what it is. I am Dr. Lynn, and Justin Hurdle Price is my co-host. And thank you so much for being a part of today's show.